Navy veteran George in Florida. Go ahead, George.
Yes. Hello, Owen. Thank you very much for having me on, sir. And the same goes to you as well, David Knight. Neither of you two gentlemen may have ever served in the military, but the both of you two are doing this nation such a great service. It's immeasurable. Inside of the United States Navy and Marine Corps, there is a lot of mentorship and leadership that goes on as soon as you get in and hand-holding. And this is a fatherless nation.
Yeah.
And I want to say that gentlemen like you and Alex Jones have really done a great deal to not only just put out talking points of political value that, you know, help Americans wake up and realize where our real struggles lie right now in our lives and in our country, but you're starting to put moral values back into people as well. And I'm not one to speak to religion and Christianity and et cetera, but you are doing great work over there. And
you talk about leadership, George. You talk about leadership, George, and hold on right there. You know, I never served, my dad never served, but my grandpa did serve in the Navy. And it's funny that you talk about leadership. You know, my grandfather was a very independent man, and he pretty much would let me run around and light the world on fire, basically, and tell me to learn the hard way. My mom's probably listening to this laughing right now, and that would freak my mom out. My mom would hate leaving me with my grandpa because she knows that if I was with grandpa, he was going to let me learn the hard way, and he was going to say
bad grandpa,
and he was going to say toughen up, and that would freak my mom out. But the truth was, it was that he was a strong, independent man. He was a Navy man, and he said, you know what, you're going to have to learn how to be tough. The world isn't easy. You're gonna make mistakes, and you're gonna have troubles, and you're not gonna have your mom over your shoulder all the time to back you up. And that was something that I don't know if that's what you were alluding to, George, but you know, I feel like that's kind of the same paradigm that these social justice warriors or these young liberals in college are experiencing, where they look to the government to help them. They want the government to answer all their problems. Oh, I took on this enormous amount of student debt, and I don't have a clue how I'm going to pay it off. Save me, government.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? It's that same mentality, and it goes through every walk of life. And it's like, no, take responsibility for yourself. Toughen up. That's what it means to live in the West.
Well, they have gone to school. They have been institutionalized most of their life. And what has that institution told them? That institution has told them that the government knows best. The government is benevolent. The government has all of your interests at heart. We need to go back to the foundations of this country. And again, Washington, Franklin, others who were not explicitly Christian. They wanted to avoid appearing to be sectarian because that would have split the country apart. Many of the states had official religions, and they had fled a system where they had a particular denomination or sect rammed down their throat. That was the last thing they wanted. So they spoke in general terms about God, but they also spoke about morals. And they said, if we don't have a moral foundation, we will not be able to maintain a democracy. And they understood that the roots of this country were rooted in what we call Judeo-Christian morals and ethics. And when we abandon those foundations, then we are really in serious trouble. And we can see what the fruit of that is in our society today, because we've abandoned those foundations. And unless there is a revival, unless we turn back to those, and it is those things, you're talking about mentoring people as fathers, it is a revival, a turning back to those morals that will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children.
Yeah, and then people like Snoop Dogg and Bow Wow and Lena Dunham and all of these other people will have no say anymore. They'll have no pull. The most immoral people in our culture that just preach immorality.
Well, the things that we always saw that were
that those individuals are entertainers. They are not people to be taking your life lessons from.
Yeah.
And again, this is not.
I shouldn't take a life lesson from Miley Cyrus?
But they're presented as role models,
God.
and unless parents, whether you have two parents in a home or you have one parent in a home, you have to take the position of a role model. You have to be deliberate about the morals that you're going to impart to your children.
The generation that I grew up with was lost enough, but what's been going on right now, like you were saying, with what's going on inside of the major big colleges, like John Rappaport's couple-page report, it was very...
They all have mental disorders. That was an unbelievable report from John Rappaport, how most college students actually have a mental disorder. And here's the thing about that is,
true.
Now, there's a big debate right now in the industry whether you can say, well, there's an increase of mental disorder, or, well, there's just an increase of diagnosis of mental disorder. Well, either way, it's an increase. So something's going on here. Either they're pushing pharmaceuticals down the students' throats, or there's some serious mental problems going on.
Well, I could seriously pivot to pharmaceuticals, but I'm just going to stay with one moment. This isn't some huge Russian collusion narrative that veterans and people at INFOWARS are all following the same mentality. It is, we are reading from the same sheet of paper, to quote and lean on many other smarter men than myself. And that is exactly what's going on right now. And inside of the government, people like Chuck Schumer right now, who's getting more camera time than Tom Cruise in the 1980s, who looks like Count Chocula, by the way. I have to get out there. Thank you. It's ridiculous what's going on right now. And you're
you don't want a pastrami sandwich from Chuck Schumer? Here, eat my pastrami.
CNN's never going to go away. It is being broadcast inside of every military base, inside of every naval medical facility, inside of every A school, C school, either that or football. It's ridiculous, the narratives that are pushing inside of there. And if you don't drink the Kool-Aid, they're going to make you disappear. And people don't realize this. You see, I rolled my eyes at you guys when a friend turned me to you many years ago before my service. And then I was so gaslit that listening to you and finally finding you people and tuning in was honestly what saved me from becoming a statistic. And this is not a lie. This is not a dramatization. You were some of the only people that is broadcasting the truth. And honestly, just like Alex Jones says, I'm waiting for you guys to disappear. I'm waiting for you guys to just absolutely disappear.
Well, I was sitting in here one day and everything went dark. And I thought that might have been the moment.
You know, it's funny. You talked about how they push CNN and the military. I had a friend of mine that I visited, a friend from high school. He was working at the Pentagon at the time. And he took me on a tour 20 years ago. And we were walking around the areas that he showed me, and they had CNN playing on monitors everywhere in the Pentagon 20 years ago. And I said, I can't believe you.
When they had Charles Jaco running fake reports.
But he says, well, yeah, he says often they have the information before we do. But see, that was the thing that was concerning to me about that, was that they would rely on CNN's narrative for that information. But of course, as part of Operation Mockingbird, I mean, they push a narrative that they were listening to a government transmission, quite frankly, and we've seen that in the many years that have followed the false narrative, the false news, the staging of incidents that CNN has done. So, but it is true. I mean, they do use that. I have not been in.
If you do not drink the Kool-Aid, they're going to make you go away. There are some weak-minded people that try to rise up and serve their country, and as soon as the brainwashing there gets to them too much, they go to medical. They claim, the anxiety, the stress is getting to them, and if they start singing a narrative that they don't like, some kind of song about how the command is corrupt, or if they've seen something they shouldn't have, or
you got to be careful.
Superiors are sleeping with the subordinates. They are going to make you disappear to a mental hospital. They're going to medicate you, and then you're going to magically disappear, hang yourself, etc., etc. People can laugh and think this is a joke, but it's not a lie. Anyone who has served, you guys ask for veterans to rise up so much, but you have no idea how much more condition in there to sit down and shut up. And when they come around yearly, biannual, I hate to roll over you guys like this, and they come around for these command comfort questionnaires, and they sit there, they'll have a 4-star admiral come in. This is the God-honest truth, gentlemen. And they will come in, and he'll say, in front of 500 people, 1,500 people, and say, okay, does anybody here have a problem with anything at all? And it will be crickets, because you are designed to behave like that from boot camp.
Yeah, and that's
all you will give is softball questions.
And is that not something that has a reverse effect, George, that ends up working people in the opposite direction, scratching their head like, this isn't right, what's going on here?
And if, God forbid, you ask a serious question like one E7, a chief in the Navy, said, hey, listen, sir, excuse me, Admiral, I broke my arm or my leg in a car accident going back a couple weeks ago. I got hit with urinalysis the very following Monday after coming back from ER. I obviously popped dirty. I had to defend my own career with my own money to retain my job here. If this guy could get an answer, his commanding officer shut him down in front of everybody. Okay, and it was cricket. And then back to rolling the oranges across the floor with questions written with marker on them. I mean, it is serious, people, and no one understands or believes this.
Well, you know what you're talking about now is the 1984 treatment. The people who are awake and understand what's happening, they get the 1984 treatment. You began by talking about morals. And if people want to understand this from a different perspective, get outside of, maybe you don't like Christianity, you don't like religion, you think that Christianity is a religion or whatever. If you want to look at it from the standpoint of Brave New World, that's what's really going on. They want to give you this hedonistic society. They want to lull you to sleep. They want to entertain you. And if you're willing to do that, and the vast majority of people will do that, that's what you'll get. You'll get Brave New World. And we're seeing that instituted throughout the schools as an instrument of social change. But if you wake up and if you ask questions and they perceive you as a threat, you will get the 1984 treatment. And that will mean that they shut down your career at the military. That's one of the aspects of that comes out of that.
Yes,
all
yes,
right.
Exactly right. I have seen it happen a number of times. And, just one last thing.
All right, make it quick, George. We got to take a break.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry. Just make it quick. One last time, when I got to my last command, they had said, who here is new to this command? And I said, obviously myself. They had said, listen, there's a story. It's true. What had happened was, if you have an E6 who's coming in all the time drunk, what are you going to do? You're going to send him home? You can discipline him? What do you do? They kept on sending this guy home. One day, he hit a bunch of kids coming out of a school bus. He pulled over, called his superior. His superior showed up with someone else to drive the car, et cetera, et cetera. The police pulled them all over. The superiors pointed at the E3 when questioned about who hit the kids with the car.
Oh, wow.
I mean, America, wake up. This is the truth. If you're listening to this broadcast, this is your only opportunity. It might not be here forever much longer. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, George, for your call and for your service. That's right, folks. They really don't want to see us here much longer. If Clinton won, we probably wouldn't be here. So we've at least put that off for another 4 years. But you can insure us by going to InfoWarsStore.com and supporting this broadcast, folks. Line our coffers with the energy that you put into this world and funnel it back to us, and that's what keeps us going. That's how we're able to go live. The Alex Jones Show live 4 hours today. InfoWars Live 3 to 5, 2 more hours of live programming. The nightly news is now live. And, of course, then you've got Alex, who ends up going live 2-3 times some days. So you never know. And it's your support at InfoWarsStore.com that makes it all possible.
Hi friends, Alex Jones here to tell you about some of the most important information concerning you and your family's health. Radiation levels have more than doubled in the last 60 years in the Northern Hemisphere from all of the nuclear testing and radiological accidents. Radioactive contamination is now in most of the food supply. There's only 2 ways to avoid this. Move south of the equator or properly protect your thyroid with nascent iodine. Looking to protect my family, I've done deep research. Nascent iodine is the purest, cleanest, absolute best form of iodine to protect yourself and your family. It's made right here in the USA, completely non-GMO. I searched out the best quality and now have developed a double-strength form of nascent iodine, exclusively available at InfoWarsLife.com. Nascent iodine is on record as one of the only safe ways to detox from fluoride poisoning. Survival Shield Nascent Iodine. Secure your super high-quality nascent iodine today at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com.